Thank you. Thank you, Dean Ilyan Mihov and the INSEAD School for asking me to do this. I mean, this is such an honor. Class of 22J, congratulations. Yes. I must say, you guys look extremely refreshed. It must be the rest, the class trip. It's really amazing to be here with you today and to join you in celebrating what I'm sure has been an incredible, dizzying, transformational, and profoundly immersive 10 months at INSEAD. This moment is made all the more special because it is only the second in-person INSEAD MBA commencement in almost 2 years. These days, we no longer have the luxury of taking for granted these opportunities to gather as a community with our families, our friends, and our loved ones. And it is really an honor to join you today. A huge and warm welcome and congratulations to your families, to the parents, partners, children, and other relatives in the room. This achievement is as much yours as it is that of our graduates. Yes. 8 years ago, I was exactly where you are now. Well, not exactly, because back then we weren't graduating in the chateau. But we'll let that one slide. In preparing to address you today, I wanted to first reflect back on what this very moment felt like for me, to be on the verge of starting a new post-MBA chapter. Luckily, I have a cheat sheet in the form of my own valedictorian address, which I had the pleasure of delivering to the class of 14J. What your class valedictorian, Shabazz, congratulations, Shabazz, wherever you are, woo, is going to do shortly. In reflecting on my 10 months at INSEAD, which were truly transformational and helped lay the foundation for so many of the choices I've made since and the opportunities I've received. One of the reasons I chose INSEAD is because I believe strongly in the power of business to catalyze change and wanted to attend a school that reflected the diversity and richness of my background and my nomadic childhood upbringing. The friendships I've established here were unparalleled. There's something so magical about the relationships we establish during what feels like an impossibly short period. It's why so many call this one of the best experiences of their lives. And what's amazing is how much stronger these relationships are and become as we evolve and grow over time. There's so many experiences that shaped my INSEAD journey, and I want to share a couple with you today. A course on intrapreneurship helped me think critically about the ways in which I and others could apply entrepreneurship principles to innovate and bring about change within established organizations. A chance meeting with a clinical psychotherapist turned organizational behavior professor, who's actually here, hello, hi GP, got me thinking more deeply about how to create safe spaces for myself and other MBAs for active self-reflection and growth, and really opened my mind to the ways in which an awareness of organizational leadership and personal growth systems are critical to who we are as business leaders. A volunteer opportunity with the Robin Hood Student Scholarship Campaign exposed me to the power of scholarship fundraising. It laid the foundation for my involvement with my own class's 5th-year reunion and for the school engagement and the board work I currently have the privilege of doing here at INSEAD. A workshop with a visiting consultant on leadership pillars allowed me for the first time to identify my own leadership archetype and realize that my vulnerability and my natural inclination toward connection and seeking solutions on the margins of different disciplines would inform my leadership style, and that rather than trying to escape who I was and be more formal, less emotional, less of myself, that I should spend this time trying to manage these traits and maximize them, and instead embrace and work intentionally to strengthen who I am and understand the context in which my special, unique leadership traits could have an impact. I came away from my MBA experience having gained so much more than I thought I would. And as I shared with my own class on graduation day, I came in as a skeptic. So how does a Washington, D.C.-based patent litigator turned law professor with an INSEAD MBA end up working in Nigeria as an advisor to a minister of finance, budget, and national planning? I mean, I do admit it's quite random. Finance was not one of my strengths at INSEAD, and nobody, especially least of all me, would have thought that this is what I'd be spending my time doing. Well, it began with a chance meeting at a 2015 INSEAD North America Forum in Washington, D.C. For those of you who don't know, INSEAD regularly has these forums where we get to come together as alumni and reconnect. In line for coffee, I met an alumna who at the time was leading a seed-stage investment fund focused on fintech for impact. We connected instantly, stayed in touch, and would meet for coffee every now and then in DC. I'd share with her my interest in moving back to Africa, and frankly, my frustration with the fact that the right opportunity hadn't presented itself. You see, while most of my classmates had been recruiting during P4 and P5, I chose instead to forego the traditional recruiting process and took time after INSEAD to rest and explore a pathway to Nigeria that was in line with my background and my interests. During what I thought was another coffee catch-up at her company, she instead told me it was an interview for a 2-month consultancy in West Africa, 1 month in Ghana and another month in Nigeria. That experience changed my life. While in Nigeria, I interviewed with VC funds and startups, the typical companies that we tend to interview for. But it was a meeting in late 2015 with a then newly appointed Nigerian Minister of State on Budget and Planning, who's still my boss today, that really got me excited about the possibility of a move to Nigeria. She and I discussed the role of business and leadership in governance and development, and the importance of being impact-minded and of being a change agent from within the system. A few months later, I had a job offer as a technical assistant in monitoring and evaluation. Was I excited? Yes. Was I absolutely terrified? Yeah. I remember looking at the job description and thinking, I've never done this before. Like, who am I kidding? I don't have the tools or the background. They're going to immediately know that I'm a fraud. She's going to ask me to leave. This is going to be a complete disaster. And on top of that, I was also pregnant with our first child. We have 3 kids, 5 and under. And I was happily pregnant at that. But the plan was never to move to an entirely new region and take on a new function in a new sector, all while expecting a baby. This opportunity, this moment, called on me to put in practice many of the lessons that I had learned before INSEAD, but had deepened during the 10-month program. That you will never feel fully prepared for these moments that can change your life trajectory. And in most opportunities for tremendous growth, catch you when you least expect it. That most of our learning happens on the job, really. Leadership is a daily exercise, and life doesn't conveniently stop happening while you're pursuing your career. Therefore, it's important to take it one step at a time, day by day. Some days you're soaring, like today. Some days you're stumbling and making huge mistakes. And most days, you're focused on the daily grind and on trying to stay consistent. Either way, it's important and it's critical to keep moving forward and to mobilize and leverage your community of colleagues, friends, family, and professional networks, the people that help steady your step and keep you sane along the way. And so I did. And with that began what has been a fulfilling 6 years in governance and development in Nigeria. Through this work, and you've heard Dean Mihov talk about INSEAD's evolution as a school not only for the world, but a school where business is mobilized as a force for good. I'm even more convinced that business and society are inextricably linked, and that the very act of starting a business that solves a particular problem, whether it's healthcare manufacturing, climate change, or food supply chains, is by its very nature an act of development and impact, particularly in emerging markets. In tech, for example, those who are pioneering work in the digital identity space or finding solutions to ensure digital broadband access in rural areas are, in fact, doing development work, whether they know it or not, whether they own it or not. In healthcare, for example, the establishment of a vaccine manufacturing hubs across Africa following the COVID vaccine scarcity, and the broader actions taken to ensure a thriving regional healthcare infrastructure speak directly to the symbiotic relationship between governance and business. These days, governments, multilateral banks, and development organizations, everyone is racing to develop solutions that are integrated, cross-cutting, cross-sectoral, and that mobilize the private sector. This is really, frankly, because the siloed ways of doing things just don't work anymore. I mean, you guys know this, we all know this. The business and governance solutions that we need must be integrated, interdisciplinary, and must have at their core an interest in meeting the basic needs of everyday people. It is therefore my hope, and I'm so excited to hear about the work that you're already doing as a class, that the very companies that you lead, that you establish as entrepreneurs, and that you fund as VCs will help transform the world. In this very room may very well be the founder of the company that will make a just and speedy energy transition that is that much more attainable in developing economies across Africa. In this room may be the next head of the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank. In this room, we may have the next VC to invest in companies leveraging blockchain to accelerate the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. And as we do this work, and as Ilian has already emphasized, diversity and inclusion are no longer nice-to-haves, but integral parts of what drives innovative business solutions. Customers, citizens, and shareholders are demanding more of this every day. In this regard, the global nature of our MBA program at INSEAD isn't just a convenient slogan. What's exciting is that there is a strong push toward ending what I like to call the era of tokenism, where diversity quotas are met through superficial appointments and light policies. Things are changing, but that change is slow, and there's still so much work to be done to ensure that our global businesses and multilateral organizations represent the true richness and diversity of background and experience of the world that the world has to offer. So, and I'm saying this especially for those of us who come from backgrounds and regions that are still today underrepresented, don't be afraid to be the only one in the room, the only young person, the only woman, the only person from a particular region, maybe Africa, maybe another region. But also know that these moments are opportunities to open doors for others, and that your mere presence in a room is an opportunity to effect change and shift the needle on corporate governance, discourse, and decision-making. Think critically about what to do with the seat that you're given at any table. These days, brilliant, hardworking, dynamic MBAs and generally professionals with big ideas are everywhere. In the same way that in the government and development space, we have lots of beautifully crafted policies and strategy documents. Frankly, what we need more of is a critical paradigm shift. We need more business leaders whose strategies and innovations are driven as much, if not more, by impact than by maximizing profit and shareholder value. We need business leaders who understand that their choices and the values that they espouse will impact lives, who take a global view and put people at the heart of their work. We need less of the us versus them and the me, myself, and I approach that seems to be unfortunately gaining traction around the world, and more of an approach that recognizes that we are a collective that will thrive or perish as one, depending on our individual and our regional choices. The evidence of this is all around us. The looming threat of climate change that is driving long overdue innovation in renewables and clean energy, the ripple effect of the war in Ukraine on supply chains and other industries. We really need more connectors, those leaders who connect teams, who innovate through their networks, as I've heard you've already been doing as a class, and who see that some solutions can only be built at the intersection of different disciplines and ideologies. You, class of 22J, are amongst the pioneers of the new post-COVID way of doing business. Your journeys and the decisions that you make as entrepreneurs, as CEOs, managers, VCs, and maybe politicians will define the experiences of several generations to come. So, the question is, what will you do with the opportunity and the privilege that an INSEAD education provides? I hope that you will use what you've experienced and learned here and go out there and claim your space and make a difference. And as you do, I hope that you'll continue to seek opportunities and to tell your own stories, and particularly for those of you who represent groups and peoples whose stories are not being told. So for example, I, as a Nigerian, Canadian, American, and also fundamentally the daughter of immigrant scientists who left Nigeria in search of a better life and who, without knowing, established a foundation for what I've been able to achieve, bring to my work, both as an INSEAD board member and as a special advisor, my own background, my own stories, my experiences, my journey as a mother, which has played a central role in everything that I've done since then. Tell your stories. Bring who you are to work, and where possible, create those companies that allow the space for others to do the same. Class of 22J, let me be the first to officially welcome you into our amazing INSEAD alumni community, and to tell you to absolutely believe the hype. Our alumni, irrespective of their title, their graduation date, whether they're CEOs of a fancy large company, are warm, accessible, and down to earth, and in true INSEAD fashion, will go out of their way to help you. And I look forward to seeing you at future alumni forums, on panels, leading your national alumni associations, sitting on boards, maybe the INSEAD board. And of course, if you're ever in Nigeria, come find me, look for me. Congratulations again, and I hope that you have an amazing rest of the day.
Thank you, Nabila, for your inspiring words, and we can all see why you were the valedictorian already.